During the Speedpaint, I document the process I use to create the poster. I begin with very basic shapes and then begin to render them. So here's just a section of me doing the shapes. All I knew is I wanted the poster to be very symmetrical and very centered, and I wanted everything to draw the focus to the little red in the middle. So I'll just leave it for a minute and let you watch. As you notice when I'm adding the color, the only pop of color is red, and that's on the Red Riding Hood. Again, this is a stylistic choice, and not only that, it brings all attention to her. Not only that, even though the style is very simple, you know straight away who it is, who the story is pertaining to, but you're not sure, so it makes you question, who is that? Is that who I think it is? I want to play the game. Because what I want this poster to do is ask questions for the viewer to make them want to find out more and things like this. So I had to make things ambiguous, and I'm actually really pleased with how it turns out. Here I start to block in the two figures in the middle. I don't know if you noticed, but as the poster goes up, each figure has a darker tone to them, so Little Red's the brightest, two in the middle are darker, and the darkest is the figure in the back. Here, just rendering it a bit more and still keeping that simplistic blank look to it. This time I add a smile and a frown. This actually pertains to the grandmother on the left and the mother on the right. The grandmother's smiling because she's looming over Little Red in a way of control and power, whereas her mother's looming over her with fear and worry. And I hope that kind of conveys it, but not only that, having these faces makes the viewer question again, who are these people? Why is this one smiling? Why is that one sad? They'd want to play the game to figure out who the characters are, so hopefully that came across as well. As I'm moving on to the figure in the back, he's the darkest, and he's actually facing away from everyone. This is because because you don't know who it is, but this is actually the wolf. I wanted to come across very mysterious, you don't know anything about them, and have a sense of a looming threat, as they are actually looming over everyone, in a sense of they may be the biggest danger or they're the biggest threat. But there's also another thing, the wolf isn't actually the bad guy, it's the granny. So the granny uses him, and he's the red herring. So in the poster that's actually showing that he's the red herring looming over everyone, but actually it's her who's hiding in plain sight. And the wolf's actually a very sweet character. He's just under control of the granny, so there's nothing he can do. And I want a sense of protection, but looming. If you looked at it in his sweet side, he's looming over as protection. But if you look at it as the darker side, it's him looming over in a threatening way. Him facing away from everyone isn't only just him hiding his identity and keeping on the theme of him being mysterious, but it's also him being ashamed. He can't face what he has to do. Whereas the granny's facing straight forward, she knows what she's doing, she's smiling, she's happy and proud and content, where he's facing away from it all because he just can't cope, and he's not proud of it, and he's just a sweet soul. just clean up the edges, giving it a more crisp outline and helping to define the shapes more, just to give it a cleaner look. Here I start to work on the shadowing and the lighting of the piece, and as I mentioned beforehand, the goal of the composition is to bring all the focus to the red. So here I have her shadow, but the shadow leans in straight into her, so it brings the eye straight to the middle, but also gives her a sense of danger looming behind her. And also I like the way the light is behind her casting the shadow, because it's very striking and bold, and it matches the style of the characters within the piece. Here I start to add light behind the characters. This creates the effect that they're backlit. And I don't know if you notice, but around the faces I add a bit of a glow. That's the effect. If someone had light behind you, the sides of your face would light up. And I'm really pleased with how this came out, because it really helps the high contrast of the piece. And also, again, brings the focus into the characters and into the center, but also gives us weird, mysterious feeling and vibe to the piece. To be honest, my first time really working with the background and lighting in the actual background, and I'm really pleased with how it turned out. Here I'm just working with different modes, and then I start messing about with layering it up, intensifying it in certain spots, and cleaning it up. Here I really start to really intensify the light around the characters to really hit that contrast and clean up the look. I really like how this turned out, because the colors really pop with that light behind it. And then after I did this, I started going over it with gradients to try and really push the contrasts as hard as I could to make it really striking and bold. And after that, I continued to work with lighting and making the sense of depth for the piece. I feel like the gradient did help to bring a lot of depth, because before this it was lacking the depth around themselves, because this felt like very flat. But with the gradient, it brought a lot of the depth to the piece, and it really makes it look like they're off in the distance and that they're far away, and like as if you want to go and help her. Here's a finished poster, and I hope you enjoyed.